Hello and welcome to the Mproof Expert series. This episode is about the 7 steps to successful service management. As you are watching this, you probably fall in one of the 3 categories. First category is you are completely new to this world. You are about to start a service management project, but basically you don't have a clue what to do or where to start. Fantastic, you've come to the right place. It might look as a complex world at the beginning, but soon you'll discover, with a couple of easy to follow steps, it is not that complicated. Second category is you already had your own experiences, but you weren't successful. Fantastic, you come to the right place as well, as you will discover that there are a lot of pitfalls. Well, I don't have to tell you that anymore, but also the solutions to those pitfalls and how you can backtrack all your problems to the basic fundamentals of this topic. Third category is you thought service management was only about implementing software. A lot of people still do, but we will discover here together that it's not only about software to be successful in this area, but there are other elements that you definitely need to give some attention to as well. I am Michiel de Ruiter. With 20 years of experience in the field of service management, I've seen enough projects succeed and fail. Especially the projects that weren't successful drew my attention. That's why I made it my mission to create the ultimate formula that everybody can use, no matter what your background is, to become successful in this field of expertise. In the next 10 minutes, we will discover together what the secrets are behind this method, and you will be able to become successful in this area yourself. What are the common pitfalls? Why does your department fall back 2 or 3 months after the project has finished? Why isn't your IT staff using the work instructions you created in the project? What's the latest version of your documentation? What kind of information does management need to be able to steer the organization? Or how do you get the results that you wanted in the first time when you started the project? A few of the many questions that will come up during or after a service management project. Maybe you can add a few questions yourself to the list. All these questions can be brought back to the 3 fundamental building blocks of any organization, even outside IT. We need to understand these building blocks thoroughly so we can make the right decisions at the right time. We understand that a lot of things can go wrong during a service management implementation. It's not an easy topic. First of all, we need to understand that any organization is built out of 3 building blocks, also known as the 3 Ps. These stand for people, process and products. People are your own employees, your IT experts from the service desk agents to the back office teams. Process is the way you agree to work together. All activities grouped in logical order with specific attention to the quality levels that you promise to your clients. Products are the tools you use to make life easier. In relationship to ITSM, we here mean the ITSM tooling. The application that you use to log all your calls, to divide the work over your department, but also to get control over your assets under management. These 3 building blocks must be brought into balance for the best results. If you don't give enough attention to one of these building blocks, you will notice that your service management organization will work poorly or not at all. That's why we always need to find the weakest link and improve that. For example, are your people skilled and trained enough? Do they have the right knowledge and skills to make sure they do a good job? Are your processes written down? Are your IT people also following those work instructions the way you've written them down? And is your IT service management tooling configured to improve productivity, but also provide you with the right management information? These are all relevant questions you need to ask yourself. Based on these 3 Ps, I've created a simple and easy to use model. If you follow it step by step, all 3 Ps will be given enough attention and in the right order. Your project will get a logical structure. You can choose which step you want to give more or less attention based on your particular situation, because not every company is at the same stage. You can also use the 7 steps to diagnose where your department currently is and how to move forward. Are you getting excited? Let's move on and discover what these 7 steps are. We have come to the first step of the 7 steps. This step is called processes, and basically what we're trying to do here is define the scope of the project. Each and every time you create a service management project, it will include 1 or more processes. So we definitely want to make sure that we know exactly what processes we are implementing. To help us, you will see a cube in front of you with a front and a top side to it. The front side are 5 levels where you can position your IT department to the business. There's no such thing as a higher level is a better level, but it's basically something you have to figure out with the business together. I'm not going too much into detail about all levels, but you will understand that the first level is the most furthest away from the business, and the 5th level is very close and maybe even integrated into the business. The depth of the cube is a different spectrum. It's made out of the capability maturity model, and it will define how much of process oriented work you will introduce to your organization. Basically, on the first level, there will be no process as a fundament, but when you move through the levels, you will get more serious and more professional. So you'll start writing it down, you'll start introducing tools or people to control your process, like the ITSM tooling, or a process manager that will do checks that cannot be done by software. With this cube, we can define what processes and on what level we want to implement during your project. This is very important because the rest of the project we will need this to look back into if we are not sure if we need to do it or not. We've come to the second step of the 7 steps. The second step is about roles. And what kind of roles do I mean here? I mean the roles specifically to your service management organization. It's very important that people feel accountable or responsible during the project, but even more important after the project. Because if people don't feel the responsibility that they need to, your organization will never last with lasting results. A couple of examples of the roles we definitely need to define during the project are the roles of process owner and process manager. Process owner is the person in your organization who probably has a higher level management function and understands the business needs on a strategic level. He will provide the resources to your process management organization and also give the goals for particular timeframes. The process manager is the person who looks after the daily operation, but also looks after the quality of the process and basically wants to get the goals within a certain time frame. Another important role in your organization is the functional administrator of your service management tooling. This person understands well what you can do with the service management tooling, but also how you can use it to improve productivity and get all the information out of the system so that your management and the people on the work floor can understand what is needed from them and how they can steer the organization. We've now come to step 3. Before we start with step 3, we will have to combine step 1 and 2 together. The first step was all about choosing your processes and making sure we understand how we want to implement it in the organization. Step 2 is all about defining the roles so we can work with the right people to create the procedures we need in step 3. So how does this work? Obviously, when we chosen incident management in the first step, as an example, and we appointed an incident process manager in step 2, we can sit down and create the procedure that we need. What's a procedure again? A procedure is a document where all activities are put in a logical order, and we will define them exactly how it works in your company. For example, your incident procedure will probably start off with registering an incident. But we will need to make sure that all the information that is necessary in your particular situation is filled in the procedure, so people later on know exactly what to do. When we do this for all the processes we want to implement in your project, we will get all the procedures, and that will form the blueprint of your organization. This is needed for the coming steps. Step 4. Step 4 is about tool configuration. As you will notice, in the first 3 steps we haven't spoken about technology at all. But in step 4 we will introduce for the first time the third P of products, meaning your IT service management tooling. We needed the first 3 steps to make sure that we're just not going to configure it in any way, but there's a meaning to configuring your service management tool. So what we'll use is the procedure created in step 3, and we will configure your service management tooling completely the way we described in your procedure. This is very important because the tool will be as good as you configure it, but it will also be as good as your procedures are. So if you have a very simple procedure, don't expect your tooling to deliver a lot of quality, because it will need to be configured according to the quality of your procedure. This is also the step where all other technical stuff will be arranged. Think about maybe connections or integrations with other systems like HR system to provide your system with the people from your organization. But maybe also a connection to a system management tooling, to a system that will monitor all your applications and hardware, and it will automatically create incidents into your system. So this, although it's only one step, is a big step, because here we will do all the technical configuration that is needed to support you in your service management organization. Step 5. Step 5 is all about work instructions. A lot of people use this word all the time, but there's a lot of different kind of work instructions. You will find, and maybe in your own experience, you've seen many work instructions already. But a good work instruction is defined not only about screenshots of your tooling, but basically it's a combination of step 3 and 4 altogether. So what we like to do here is to take the procedure, take the configured tool that you're going to use to make your procedure work easily in your organization, and make a work instruction out of that. So it's not an explanation of how the tool is working, but it's an explanation of how your procedure is working in your tooling. This is also a very important step, and a good example of this is, for instance, an IKEA manual that you get along with a bookshelf that you bought. It will show you exactly step by step which shelf you need to put and you need to put where and when. And at the end, if you did it exactly according to the manual, you will get the bookshelf you wanted to make. The work instructions will also be used in later steps, so it's a very important thing to get done very professionally and in the right way that we want according to the procedures. We've now come to step 6. Step 6 is about transferring knowledge and skills to your IT people. In the project, we started with step 1 to 5, which are basically the steps to create all the material your people can use later on during the project and in real life while working with your clients and customers. So the first 5 steps are more internally for the project to prepare to actually share all the material later on with the people that weren't involved in the project. So how can we do this properly? We've all been to these trainings where a trainer is telling us for hours and hours about how we should work and how everything will work in real life later on. But most of the time these trainings are quite boring, people fall asleep and don't pay attention, and later on they struggle when they need to do it themselves. That's why we need to do it more advanced. So we definitely want to involve all the people in the material and let them figure out how it should work with all the work instructions and the tooling that we created in the previous steps. So we definitely have to make sure that in step 6, where we transfer all the knowledge to your people that are going to work with it later on, that it's done properly, and we can use specific things like accelerated learning or learning by doing to make sure a training is interesting and compelling, and to make sure as well that people understand what they learned so they can use it in practice later. The last step, but maybe also the most important step, is step 7. Until step 6 we've done what you probably can expect from a normal service management implementation. But step 7 takes it even beyond that. In step 7 we're applying what is also known in ITIL as CSI, Continual Service Improvement. A lot of people heard about this term but struggle to implement that in real life. So this is something you definitely want to look into, because this will make your projects successful over the long term. What do we want to do here? We want to implement a sort of shadow process on the background, where we sit down for a specific process with all the stakeholders and talk about what is good, but more important, what can be improved. And we will use the 3 Ps as well to make sure we don't forget anything, because as we've spoken about before, all the 3 Ps needs to be in balance all the time, because otherwise we will see that your organization will be struggling to deliver the quality you promise to your clients. So how does this work? We can obviously schedule meetings. If you're familiar with agile development, you can do stand-up meetings or do reflection meetings. That will definitely help. You can also benefit from sort of business simulations. Those are trainings and workshops where you can take your people to, and you will get into a simulated environment, for example Apollo 13 or Control I3, where you are working in a harbor. And because the environment is not the same as you normally work in, but the processes and the teamwork will be the same, you can learn a lot about your own team, and your team will be able to see what the results are and benefit from that in the future. So step 7 is all about your culture, your communication, your soft team skills, and you need to improve on that regularly to make sure that everything stays up to date and on top of mind. With this step, we concluded all 7 steps of this methodology. We've come to the end of this episode of the Mproof Expert Series about the 7 steps to successful service management. In this particular episode, we looked into the common pitfalls to any service management project. We looked at the universal building blocks of any organization, the 3 Ps standing for people, process and products, and finally the 7 steps. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and it will help you in any future service management project you will start. From Mproof, I'm wishing you all the best for now and a lot of success with this methodology. For any more information, you can also visit our website mproof.com, or if you have any questions, leave us a question there. Thank you for now, and I'll see you next time.